13 hours in Nairobi, Kenya, midday here in Accra. My name is Bright Nanamfo. Thanks so much for joining us on Midday Live. A quick look at our top stories this afternoon. Government cancels deal with Extin Cubic Limited. We'll tell you exactly what went into the cancellation of the deal right here. The Minister of Education has extended the placement of this year's computerized school selection and placement system to next week. Also coming up, the paramount queens of Nkonya and Alavanyo traditional areas appeal to the youth of the area to eschew vengeance and smoke the peace pipe. And traders who sell close to the Cocoa Village, a newly developing site belonging to Cocoa Board, vow to resist any attempt by the TMA to evict them from the site. Well, these and many more coming up. This is Midday Live. Thanks so much for your time. Our social media platforms are very active. You can be part of the conversation. Stay with us for the next 1 hour. My name is Bright Nanamfo. Thanks so much for your time. Let's start from the education front. The Ministry of Education has extended the placement of this year's computerized school selection and placement system. We're told that 150,770 qualified BEC candidates who have still not been placed have up to next week to complete their placement into senior high schools. According to the Ghana Education Service, the extension has become necessary because some qualified BEC candidates have still not been placed 24 hours after the initial deadline expired. BEC candidates can now have up to Tuesday, September 5, 2017 to complete the placement as part of initiatives to ensure quality and fairness in the implementation of the free senior high school. Government has directed 30% enrollment in elite senior high schools will be reserved for candidates from deprived and less privileged schools across the country. We'll tell you more about that later on, but let's turn to another story. The majority of sachet water bags and ice cream plastics end up at landfill site without being recycled. We're told that could there be life after death for these plastics? In the following report, Portia Gabo tells the story of how bags can be made from plastic trash.
The landfill sites and shorelines of most beaches in Ghana seem to be the final resting place of plastic waste. Every day, scavengers and waste pickers like Jerry rummage through tons of waste at the landfill sites in search of discarded plastics.
After sorting the plastic from the waste, we have those who came close to us and they buy it from us.
But plastic waste does not have to end up at the landfill sites. They can be developed into innovative products. Trashy Bags, an eco-friendly business, has found a way to prove that there is life after death for plastic waste. When sachet water bags, ice cream wrappers and materials from billboard advertisement are taken off the streets of Accra, they are dumped here for a fee. Approximately 180,000 sachets are collected and processed every month. Before the sachets can be sewn together to form the final product, they must be sorted out, cut open, thoroughly washed, dried and straightened. Once the sachet sheets are prepared, templates are used to draw the shapes for future products and the basic outlines are cut out. Sheets prepared in this way are then handed to the workers who sold them together according to a predefined procedure.
Plastics are not meant to be discarded. They are meant to be used over and over again. So next time you take that sachet water, you may not want to throw it away because you may get a bag out of trash.
Plastic waste in the country is becoming an alarming problem, and we're all aware about that. The repercussions are very huge. As well, we know that it's a very useful packaging material. So what we've done for close to a decade now is identifying the problems, at the same time also finding practical solutions.
The smart bags, all made from water sachets and local fabric, can hold up to 18 kilograms. With Kenya joining countries such as China and Rwanda in banning plastic bags, will it be the solution to the plastic waste menace in Ghana? Project Director at Trashy Bags says Ghana should rather invest in recycling plastic waste.
Banning plastic completely is one of the solutions, but if you consider all the different support that we had with this kind of material in terms of packaging, I think that we have to intensify recycling, support industries that are into recycling, and then the awareness creation is also very important, because we've realized that it's not just people not wanting to recycle, but it's also because people don't understand this kind of material, that it can take thousands and thousands of years to biodegrade.
By making useful and attractive bags and other products directly from the sachets, Trashy Bags have demonstrated that plastic waste can still be useful long after it has outlived its original purpose.
On Portia Gabor with that report. The Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, has urged the media to exhibit some restraint in its investigative and anti-corruption reportage. The GJA, in a statement signed by President Arthur Money, said journalists engaging in investigative reporting must be strictly guided by ethical values, and especially the GJA Code of Ethics. The association acknowledged the importance of this brand of reportage, but urged extreme caution and circumspection in order not to pronounce certain people guilty in the media, whereas any court of competent jurisdiction has not even tried them. The Media Foundation for West Africa has cautioned the GJA against what it describes as attempts to undermine investigative and anti-corruption journalism in the country. The MFWA, in a rebuttal, however, wondered why the GJA gave such a directive, especially when it failed to provide context or reference to any specific recent or past instances that could warrant the unusual cautionary note. Studio is the Executive Secretary of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Suleiman Brahma is here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hope you're doing great.
Very well.
Thanks for your time. But let's begin for you. So the GJA is simply suggesting that media men should be strictly guided by ethical values, and especially the GJA Code of Ethics. And, the foundation seem not to agree. Is that it?
Well, I think if put that way, that will not reflect the entirety of the context within which we issued the statement.
Right.
The GJA statement needs to be looked at as a holistic statement. The very first paragraph of 4 lines in the statement talks about the fact that the GJA is following. Then the next 4 lines in the second paragraph talks about the GJA applauding the courage with which some journalists have been pursuing investigative journalism in the country. Now, the rest of the statement, and as we put it out in the statement, the rest 30 lines out of the 38 lines is all about cautioning journalists, advising against smear campaign in the media, trying people in the media, pronouncing people and businesses in the media, and the fact that if the media continues or goes on to do that, it can undermine the reputation, it can affect the businesses of these people, and these businesses are businesses that are contributing significantly to the development of this country. So if you take the statement holistically, the purpose of it is to really caution journalists about or on how they go about reporting on businesses. And that is why we, in our view, such a statement is really something that would discourage and undermine the spirit of investigative journalism. There is no problem about, the GJA coming out at any point in time to say, well, we recognize that there are a lot of infractions, smear campaign, people being tried in the media, and so on, and therefore we are issuing this statement to caution against that. But then in this particular statement, you ask yourself, so what has prompted the GJA to issue this statement?
So that is where the worry is.
Exactly. What has prompted the GJA to come up with this statement? What is the context? And the statement doesn't make any reference to instances where people are engaging in smear campaign in the media, trying people in the media, pronouncing businesses guilty in the media, and so on and so forth. But then if you look at the trail of events over the last week before the statement was issued, then you may be tempted to believe that the GJA statement is actually something to serve the interests of big businesses rather than something to caution the media on what they do.
Is the GJA wrong as an organization to intermittently come up with these kind of warnings?
Well, it is not wrong, and if we...
The only worry is that it is coming at a time a certain story is being told.
Well, so that is number one,
okay,
which is the context within which this statement was issued. And the fact that prior to the issuance of the statement, the president had been on a radio station being interviewed on the same story about how some local businesses are demanding or condemning journalists. And in fact, the statement as published in the daily, the New Crusading Guide last week had said corrupt journalists are, using their mandate or their work to destroy private businesses in the name of investigative journalism. And so the president of the GJA was interviewed on this story on a radio station. And next to that, then the GJA issues a statement. And today, the New Crusading Guide that had published the story, which formed the basis of the interview and which might have been the basis for the statement, the New Crusading Guide has apologized and apologized to Manasseh of multimedia, even though the original statement or the original story in the New Crusading Guide did not mention any names. They realized that in the context of it, in the light of the stories that are being done about a particular group of companies, then it is right to interpret the story as referring to the individual who is pursuing that.
I see. So you think the GJA is gagging journalists, some journalists? Well,
I think that if we hadn't reacted the way we are reacting, our interpretation is that this statement could potentially discourage or undermine the spirit of investigative journalism and the spirit of anti-corruption reporting, such that anybody who decides to who receives a tip or has a source who reveals to him or her that there is something fishy going on in this company, once the entity is a local business or the person is a local entrepreneur, the first question that comes to your mind is, oh, the GJA warned us against this, and how am I going to pursue this story?
But if you're doing the right thing, should you be worried about if you're obeying the GJA Code of Ethics, you're looking at the ethics in journalism, if you're doing the right thing, should you be worried about GJA warning?
Well, what we don't have to forget is that the stories that we put out, we put them out for the public to consume. And the credibility of your story sometimes can be undermined by public perception. If the public thinks that, oh, as for Bright, whatever he is doing, he's been paid, he's a corrupt guy. So if you come out with a legitimate investigative report that indicts somebody, the perception there then is that, oh, this is, if it is coming from this guy.
Is that why you think the GJA got it all wrong?
Well, I think that for me, anybody who reads the GJA statement, the first question you ask is, what has prompted this? Where is this coming from? Are we seeing series of infractions of the GJA
So
code?
it's the timing?
Not the timing, but because if it were issued at any point in time, that question would still arise if the statement does not point to any instances,
so
examples,
where did the GJA
references,
get it
and
wrong then?
so forth.
If it's not the timing, what is wrong with the GJA's statement?
Well, so we are saying that, one, the statement, is cautioning journalists, particularly investigative journalists, about how they do their reports and how occasionally their reports may indict local businesses, personalities, entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't make any reference. Okay. So what is the basis?
I see. Finally, your statement urged the GJ leadership not to allow itself to become a victim of media capture by big businesses. Exactly what are you talking about?
Well, today around the world, the biggest threat to quality journalism,
media freedom,
is not media freedom per se. The media may be free, but what you put out there, is it something that is serving the public interest or somebody's interest? And so around the world, the biggest threat now is that big businesses are trying to capture the media by doing anything possible to ensure that the media are serving their interest, or the media would not do anything that undermines their interest, even if what they are doing is wrong. And I believe that here in Ghana, businesses are businesses, and therefore big businesses would definitely have that interest of trying to see how they can manipulate the media to achieve whatever interest that they want. And that is why we are saying, given the developments that unfolded or are unfolding, and the fact that the GJA statement was issued without context, without any reference, without examples, and the timing of it, we think that it's appropriate to let the GJA know that that development is there, and so that they make sure that they don't become a victim of media capture.
I'm grateful for your time.
Thank you very much.
This afternoon. Suleiman Abrahima is the Executive Secretary of the Media Foundation for West Africa, talking to me there. We'll tell you more about that later on, but let's move on. Farmers from 5 communities in the Asiedu-Dartey municipality of the Ashanti region are lamenting the takeover of their cocoa farms by the paramount chief of the Asiedu traditional area. They say the action of a chief could affect their livelihood and government's efforts to increase production.
Benase, Ampame, Edwinase, Onwin, and Asapon are all cocoa growing communities in the Ashanti region. These 5 communities contribute immensely to the production of cocoa in the country. Residents here cultivate about 5,000 acres of cocoa every year. But the cocoa farms and other cash crops are under threat following the decision by the paramount chief of Ejiso, Nana Afrane Okese, to sell the farmlands to private developers and also offer part to the Free Zones Board. Some pillars have already been erected on some of the farmlands.
The government's programs must be supported by everyone, including the chiefs. They should not think about what they will have in their pockets.
The farmers allege the chief has sold off their farmlands without consultation. They embarked on a demonstration to register their displeasure and called on the Asantehene and President Akufo-Addo to intervene.
I think the people over here will react, and I don't think what will happen. They will take a very quick, drastic action, which will be very, very, very difficult to handle.
Janet Sewa Bekon, also a cocoa farmer, has pleaded with the government to intervene quickly to prevent any unlawful acts by the youth.
The chief has not taken over anybody's land. The land belongs to the chief, and they have been compensated with an amount of 200,000 cedis.
Reacting on behalf of the paramount chief of Ejiso, Chairman Nana Kojo Ampofo refuted all the claims of the farmers. He says the farmlands were given to the Free Zones Board by the chief of Ejiso in 2005, and the farmers were compensated accordingly. It is anticipated that the destruction of these large tracts of cocoa farms will affect the production of cocoa in the region and also lead to loss of livelihoods.
Versus Midday Live. The Queen Mothers of Nkonya and Alavanyo in the Volta region have jointly appealed to the youth of the 2 traditional areas not to avenge the death of anyone killed during the conflict. The 2 traditional leaders also want the security agencies to step up investigations and prosecution of such criminals.
The protracted conflict in the 2 Volta regional towns has left scores dead and hundreds maimed. Efforts by government and other civil organizations to bring peace have failed. However, a glimmer of hope seemed to have been ignited following the rule of the 2 Queen Mothers of Nkonya and Alavanyo.
And it seems the foundation is not strong. I am saying so because what happened? There's a conflict. A lot of people have been killed. And then the victims are dead. The families are dead. The children are dead. They have that pains, that grievance in them. But nobody is talking about that. You talk about land peace, land peace, land peace.
We should tell them that there is no need for retaliation. And also, the victims, we have to counsel them and tell them that even though it is painful, we have to let certain things go and then forge ahead and see to the developmental project of our place.
The two queens are targeting the youth.
I'm saying there's a need for us now to call them on board and then talk to them, counsel them. That's why we need the psychology, clinical psychology and spiritual psychology.
We should say enough is enough. And in preaching this piece, we need to fish out those individuals that are committing this crime.
The two, however, differ on role of security agencies in the fight for lasting peace.
They cannot accuse us, one, because I'm not trained to be investigator. And they are trained for that. They know how to get the people. First of all, I cannot give information to a police who is a drunkard. Why should I vouch information to that person if I have? Am I secure? If a police officer found in a drinking spot, police officer who's supposed to be there to maintain peace and order, can be drunk to an extent that cannot control himself, or a soldier, why should I give information to them?
The security is coming from elsewhere. The security is not an indigene of Nkonya, and so the security is not privy to the occurrences in Nkonya. It is for we, the people of Nkonya, to give them information that, look, ABCD is going to happen. Please make sure. Why? There is a whistleblower act. We can also, so if the security can protect the people that give them information, I think that we will make a headway.
They want the public to see killings as criminal and not linked to the land or chieftaincy dispute.
Now let's go to the northern region. Residents of Tamale are calling for the desilting of a major dam which causes flooding in the area. The dam, which previously collected flood waters, is silted up and is now brisk and is affecting brisk farming business.
The Waterworks Dam was coordinating several hectares of dry season farming. In the 90s, the area was a dam collecting water from upstream, but now it is only the embankment that is visible. The dam itself is silted up. Canals are all broken. The water now moves to town and causes a lot of flooding.
It's a dam, a big dam. And the elder days, our grandfather was farming there. So after that, they come and do this dam for that. The town. So before that, there was some time ago there was heavy rain come and break that dam. So we are now farming inside.
The dam, per its location, was a flood control measure with a capacity to match major flood waters, but silted up. It burst its banks each time it rained heavily.
If the dam don't do, the dam is just contain the water, we just destroying that thing. If there is not this dam, any time, government cannot solve it. Because this water is not a small. I want that they repair this dam before they will enjoy. If not that.
Indiscriminate refuse dumping and poor drains compound the flooding problem. Until the dam is desilted, the region will continue to battle annual floods and life lost.
In some other news this afternoon, traders who sell close to the Cocoa Village, a newly developed site belonging to Cocoa Board, have vowed to resist any attempt by the Tema Metropolitan Assembly to evict them from the site. This follows claims by Cocoa Board that the traders have encroached on their land. Josephine Frimpong has been visiting the traders who have resisted that indeed they will not move from the site.
It is not too far. This one is document. How can you like it? You are not accepting it anyway.
And we'll bring you that story later on. The story is gone by. Of course, the Minister of Education has extended the placement of this year's computerized school selection and placement system to next week, and the Queens of Nkonya and Alavanya communities in the Volta region have appealed to the youth to exercise restraint in efforts at reaching peace in the conflict. We'll tell you more about these stories and more, and particularly the fact that government has cancelled the deal with Exchange Cubic Limited. Stay with us. This is Midday Live. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to Midday Live. Now let's get back to our earlier story from Tema on the cocoa village. We're told that those traders who sell there have vowed to resist the TMA from evicting them. Josephine Frimpong went there this morning and has put this together.
This one is bad document. How can you like it? You are not accepting this anyway.
Am I misbehaving? No, the way you are looking at you and you are asking.
What's the problem? What's the problem?
You are saying and the same thing.
It's not multimedia.
It's not multimedia.
So it's not multimedia.
Well, traders who are operating at the cocoa village at Committee 2 here in Tema this morning might face another eviction from the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. Earlier Thursday, some of their containers were demolished because, according to the TMA, their squatters, they are not supposed to operate here because the operators of this area... Traders operating at the cocoa village here at Committee 2 will face an eviction this morning. This is going to be a second eviction from the TMA. They had one earlier on Thursday. Traders...
We'll bring you full details of that story later on. But the paperless system has begun at the Tema port. Day 4, we're told that some traders are encountering challenges, but others are able to deal with officials there. That's up in business with Nanekuya, who's just joined us.
The business segment is brought to you by
Right, thank you, Bright. You're still watching Midday Live, time for business, and rightly said by Bright Nana Amfo. Well, it's the first working day actually talking about Ghana sports going paperless, and my colleague Joseph Frimpong is there currently. We understand that on the first working day following the coming into operation of the paperless sports transaction, our correspondent there reports that the usual brisk activities that characterizes the long room at the Tema port was absent this morning. But we are going over to Josephine now there to get the latest there on the paperless ports. Right, we'll be joining her shortly, but some of the issues coming up is that concerns being raised by freight forwarders. Some say the system is good, some also have some problems, let's say, especially with the payment of the fees regarding the mobile money as well as other sources of payments. But Josephine is there now to give us the full update, what is happening there currently. Josephine.
That the usual brisk activity was absent at the long room, where you might find a huge number of freight forwarders who are here to make payments or also pick up their declaration. But while we went to the long room where they make the declaration, there were a few backlogs. So we found 2 custom officers who were on their seat trying to make work on the documents which are still left, those who made earlier declarations prior to the September one. But what we gathered, we spoke to a few freight forwarders, and there were several mixed reactions. Some were complaining about missing documents, others also had already accessed the online piece and were having challenges. But we'll be speaking to the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Mr. Kwabna Ofosu, who will probably probably share with us or more draw his attention to some of the concerns of his people if it has come to his table. Mr. Fosu, these were the concerns which were expressed by your colleagues who are already, some have access, some are yet to mixed reactions. What do you make of them?
You said 4 days, but essentially this is day 2, or let me say properly, this is day 1. And seriously, it would have been very strange not to expect some of these things on the ground on the first day like this. But in fact, that's why we are here, and having sampled some of the concerns, you realize that it's got to do with the backlogs. Those who had their documents before 1st September kicked in, and one admonition that I want to do is that customs will have to have an effective transition management tool in place. Well, it's very, very necessary that we see that kind of presence. You know, if you're going to have only 2 folks left to cater for the backlogs, I say that is not quite enough. But then we made a quick dash to the assistant commissioner in charge of the district, and he has assured us that he has actually asked for a few more folks to come and beef up the compliance officers here till the backlogs are cleared. Yeah, with issues of documents getting missing and all of that, you know, these are things that probably will be happening way till eternity. It might not necessarily be linked to the paperless process, you know, like we have all agreed, or the reality is that we've not had enough time for this. The timeline is very, very aggressive. That we have all owned up to. And if you follow my discourse throughout, I've always been talking about we taking a certain leap of faith. And that's what we are doing today. And our prayer is for the networks to be up and running. Whilst at the assistant commissioner's place, we realized that network dropped a bit, but then it came back. We hope and pray that this dead times will not be that prolonged, because that really will be the nemesis of 1st September. We pray it doesn't happen that way.
So the hitches are actually going on. People are expressing their fears. The internet, others are complaining even about the mobile money, how they will pay their monies. People are doubting it. They feel it's too risky to pay such huge money through a mobile money account.
You see, just the mobile money, there's a certain threshold, and I believe that, you see, as we speak, the training is still going on. We have certain limits that, of course, you cannot use mobile money to pay, and the payment is also not restricted only to mobile money, as you might have picked up by now. We have the other cards that are tenable, all in place, and even to the banks, other banks have been added. What we have in place today, we actually have 3 platforms for payment: the GAPOA system, the West Blue system, and the GCNet system. If you are paying duty, you probably will be restricted to a lot more of the GCNet system. But I am sure with the days coming, the West Blue system will kickstart, which our folks already know how to use, because during when you are doing the IDF, that's the system we use to pay, albeit the IDF fee is just about 5 cedis and other fees. But we you know, in all of this deployment, we are taking consolation in the fact that the data entry clerks who are in the office are new to a lot of these processes. Probably it is the field agents who are going to have a little bit of a problem catching up. But once they get through it the first time, that's it. It's a process they will learn once. And we hope that with time, maybe a week from now, I hope you will come around and you see that the story might be different.
So do you know the number of people who are probably have access or made requests online?
No, we don't. I can't tell the number of people who have made. But that's why we wanted to look at the situation on the ground first. You see, in all of this, we, as in Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, we have a platform with which we trickle down message to our folks. I mean, real time, you know. And it's unfortunate if other associations don't have it this way. The center point for all of these discussions is the lawn room. And when they come here with their anxieties, it becomes difficult for you to know whether the message that we have trickled down to our people, how the other associations are also managing this kind of thing. So I really want to urge them on to have a certain platform like this, so that when, as we speak, new informations are trickling in. As at Thursday, when we had about one of the last meetings, we realized that the changes that were being announced had been changed again, bits and pieces of them. So immediately we had to pass it on to our folks. So we pray that the other associations up their game a little so that managing this change will become a lot more effective and easier to handle for the rest of us.
All right, so we would want all the stakeholders involved in this process to actually up their game so that the fears which have been expressed by the freight forwarders will all go away. Well, Ghana is joining Togo and Abidjan in this paperless trail, and we believe that if we all join hands together, we will be able to have a successful implementation. From the Tema port, my name is Josephine Frempong.
Right, and talking about how cumbersome or easy the whole process would be like, I'm sure you get more detail into that particular one later on Business Focus this evening at 6 p.m. But let's move away from that, and our government has cancelled its deal with Exton Cubic. According to government, the lease was not valid as the company did not follow the due process in acquiring the deal.
A scrutiny of the processes leading up to the grant of the mining leases in favor of the company discloses non-compliance of the statutory requirements for the grant of any of the valid mining leases. It is the exclusive duty of the minister under Section 13, subsection 1 of Act 703 to determine and notify an applicant of a grant of a mineral right. The purported notifications by the Minerals Commissions of the grant of the company's applications for mining leases to the company is contrary to law. There is no record of an acceptance of the offer of the mining lease in writing by the company as mandatorily prescribed by Section 13, subsection 4 of the Act. The absence of publications of the Gazette of Notice of the pendency of the company's applications and service of notice of the various entities specified in the law is contrary to both Section 13, subsection 2 of Act 703 and Regulation 177 of LI 2176. In the circumstances above, and in accordance with Section 87 of Act 703, the 3 mining leases are hereby revoked.
Well, I'm sure I'll be getting more detail into that particular one, but let's move away from that and talking about taxi and Uber. Well, the tussle has been going on for some time now. The fact that taxi drivers would want to move away from what they do to also use the operations of Uber because they don't want to pay taxes. Well, Uber says it is ready to cooperate and coordinate with these taxi drivers, and they're also in talks with government regarding Uber drivers and issues bordering on taxes. Some commercial taxi drivers in Accra have raised issues of illegality in the operations of Uber, a transportation network company which has been operating within the Accra metropolis for the past year and now in Kumasi. The Umbrella Commercial Taxi Drivers Association, Ghana, have questioned the use of private cars by Uber drivers for commercial purposes. The commercial drivers say the action of Uber drivers is in breach of the Road Traffic Act, LI 2012 Regulation 141 1B 2180. The drivers have consequently petitioned the Minister of Transport against the use of private cars for commercial purposes.
We believe it should be a level playing field. There shouldn't be different treatment for partner drivers that make use of our technology or taxi drivers. And we're committed to engaging with the regulators, and we have been, to ensure that there is a clear route to licensing for driver partners using the application, so that that allegation of unfair rules no longer applies.
Some taxi drivers contend if their issues are not addressed, they would re-spray their cars as private but use them for commercial purposes.
If someone should decide that they don't want to use technology to get matched up with their riders, they prefer to, to use the traditional method of going about things. We are still very open to holding sessions with taxi drivers, Uber drivers who are taxi drivers, everyone together in the same room to train people on GPS usage, to train people on customer service, to train people on what safe driving techniques and so on are, to better the transportation economy as a whole.
Well, will the taxi drivers heed and join them? Let's see what happens. Well, we'll bring you more business updates in subsequent bulletins, but that will do for this afternoon. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. We have sports next with Yao Fusulabi after this. Enjoy your lunch.
Business, the heartbeat of every economy. The booze and the chairs of the stock market shows who's making profit and who's crumbling under the harsh business environment. On Business Focus, we crowd out the noise for you to make informed decisions on your investments. I'm Pakwisi Asare and I talk business.
Business Focus shows this and every Monday at 6 p.m. and is brought to you by Vodafone. Power to you. And supported by 3FM 92.7 in Accra and 3news.com.
Warm Up shows every Saturday at 10 a.m. Make a date on TV3 and is brought to you by
MTN. Everywhere you go. Solak Herbal Mixture.
Yes, Jordan Ayew now with a chip.
Bolt going very near, comes Usain Bolt! Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again, Blake!
Sports Station shows every Monday at 9 p.m. on TV3 and is brought to you by Cowbell, Our Milk, Malta Guinness and Betway.
Just before we tell you what's happening to the Black Stars, now, as part of its Africa expansion plans, Media General Group has appointed Madame Perle Mensah as Group Chief Executive. She's the first female Group Chief Executive Officer to head a private media conglomerate and takes over from John Chairman, whose contract expires at the end or on September 4. We're told that Pearl is an astute business leader and dynamic professional with over 20 years of global experience leading and consulting for businesses in different sectors in Ghana and abroad. Pearl will lead the Media General strategy to expand and become a leading African conglomerate in news and entertainment. Apart from TV3, Media General also owns the fast-growing stations Onua, 3FM, Akoma, and Connect FMs, the 3news.com online offer, and Adesa Production. Until her appointment, she was a founder and chief executive of Phoenix Limited, a leading consulting firm. Time now for sports.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Yao Fusulabi. It's time now to do sports here on Midday Live. On to our first story now. The Black Stars trained this morning without captain Asamoah Andre Ayew and his brother Jordan and Ibn Zofori at the Accra Sports Stadium ahead of the FIFA World Cup qualifying return fixture against Congo. Now, not so good news coming from that game because Asamoah is injured. Andre also picked up a knock in training and his brother has been ruled out of the game because of a stomach upset. Ibn Zofori was attacked by armed robbers last night. Ghana will leave for Brazzaville later today to try to overturn what was a disappointing scoreline last Friday. And Christian Achu has called on Ghanaians to keep the faith and trust the national football team.
We are all motivated because this is what we do for a living, and this is our career, this is our work.
and the nation is supporting Ghana, so we cannot make any decisions for ourselves. We are just going there to work hard, knowing that Ghana is behind the Black Stars of Ghana. So we are going to fight for the nation. There are a lot of surprises in football, and it's difficult, but nothing is impossible. So we just go there and then try to win. We, the players, we understand that at this point we let the nation down, but also we also want the nation to know that we were fighting for them, and it didn't go well for all of us. So we need them to support us in the next game, and we'll see what will happen for the future. I don't think what people think about us is true, that we are not fighting for the nation, because we have bad moments and good moments in life, and we understand that in football also you have your bad moments, and this is the bad moment that the Black Stars are going through, so we need their support, and we are also fighting to make things happen.
Also, that's Christian Achu there. But 21 players are expected to travel to Congo with a team to take on the Red Devils. The Ayu brothers will miss the trip, but Ebenezer Ofori and Asamoah Gyan, albeit his injury, will travel with the team, as Communications Director of the Ghana Football Association, Ibrahim Sani Dara, explains.
We'll be heading towards the airport. Some players are here, a few others are not here for injury reasons. We'll make do with what we have and go to Congo for the game. Those who are not available to play from the last team are Andre Ayew and Jordan Ayew. Let me also put it on record that Harrison Afful is not feeling too well. He also, has some stomach upset. But Harrison says he wants to travel with the team to offer his support. I've also just received information from the technical team that Captain Asamoah Gyan has also sought permission from his club in Turkey to join the team. We have heard from Ebenezer. He will also join the team. Let's use this opportunity also to wish him well in these difficult moments. For a player to come on national team duty and suffer this traumatic armed robbery attack is something that we would not wish for players of our national team.
Well, so there will be some cracking games to look forward to on the African continent in the qualifying series as it continues across all match centres. Now, there will be the cracking one. Cameroon will take on Nigeria, and if Nigeria are able to qualify, they'll become the first African nation to qualify for the World Cup if they beat Cameroon today in Yaoundé. Also, there's Algeria against Zambia. Now, if Zambia are also able to win against Algeria and Nigeria loses to Cameroon, then that throws the group wide open. It puts Zambia just 1 point close to Nigeria there. So that will also be a group to look forward to. Also, Ivory Coast will take on Gabon. They beat Gabon in the reverse fixture by 3-0 last weekend. Asiedu Dartey getting 2 of those goals. Mali against Morocco. Morocco beat Mali by 6-0 in Rabat, and they are visiting Bamako with an opportunity to also pick up some points to lead them to help them to qualify for the World Cup. Burkina Faso will also take on Senegal. Congo against Ghana is tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. and Egypt will take on Uganda. So these are some of the fixtures, the big ones for today and tomorrow in the African qualifying series. But Maria Sharapova's first Grand Slam tournament in 19 months ended with a defeat to Anastasia Sevastova in the US Open 4th round. 16-seed Latvia Sevastova won 5-7, 6-4, 6-2 to reach the quarterfinals in New York. The 27-year-old will play Sloane Stephens in the quarterfinals after the American beat Julia Georges. Sharapova, ranked 146th after returning from a doping ban in April, was given a wild card into the main draw, but she could not make the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it was a tough match. I had to stay there after losing the first set, but I'm so happy. I think it's everything, a little bit of everything, because coming here, I knew that I could play good here, so it was just first rounds, tough rounds, and then you're in the tournament, and it's going.
Also, Maria Sharapova, they're out of the U.S. Open. Later today, there will be matches between Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer will all be in action later today. But my name is Yao Fusulabi. There's more sports later. Terry Nyan will join you for News 360. Over to you, Bright.
Yeah, grateful. But do we know what did they ate before the stomach upset?
No, we do not know.
Well, we don't know that yet. All right, yeah, have a good afternoon. We're grateful. We'll continue praying for the Black Stars as they play Congo tomorrow. Now, time to hit the international front. Activities in Kenya and other parts of the world. Uhuru Kenyatta had branded members of the Supreme Court crooks and vowed to fix them if re-elected. Speaking on live television on Saturday, he vowed to fix the court if re-elected, noting we shall revisit this thing, we clearly have a problem. But at a rally in Nairobi on Friday, he said the country has a problem with its judiciary following the Supreme Court's annulment of last month's presidential election. Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto has called on the Electoral Commission to set a new date for fresh presidential elections, saying the governing Jubilee Party is ready. The Public Relations and Communications Authority of the UK is meeting today to discuss possible sanctions against the public relations firm Bell Pottinger for possible breach of industry code of conduct during a campaign it ran for powerful Gupta family in South Africa. Bell Pottinger may even lose membership of the association. South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party accused Bell Pottinger of running a hateful and divisive campaign to divide South Africa along the lines of race using the hashtag White Monopoly Capital. Following the complaint, the Chief Executive Officer of UK's best-known public relations firm, James Henderson, has resigned. Time now to hit the world of entertainment. Ghana's most beautiful ladies were part of the Grand Debate of the Ogua Fetu Afeshe Festival in Cape Coast on Saturday. The annual festival, which is celebrated on the first day of September, is marked to cleanse and protect the people of Ogua from experiencing an outbreak of any epidemic. With its rich cultural characteristics and symbolism, the contestants were there to partake in the celebrations and also enhance their knowledge of the culture of the people of Ogua traditional area. In some other entertainment news, former Deputy Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Jifa Gomashi, wants Ghanaian dancers to be innovative and strive at improving their act. She believes dancing has now moved from being a passion to business and is urging professionals to step up their game to attract patronage.
The third edition of the Ghana Dance Festival has been launched. The initiative is to celebrate the various dance forms in Ghana. It is again aimed at developing the art form through training sessions and series of career development activities.
We are going to have a series of workshops, for people out there who want to learn how to dance and for dancers who want to upgrade their skills. We are also bringing to you amazing theatrical productions that's going to happen in collaboration with the National Theatre. And then we are also going to bring something for kids.
The month of September has been set aside for the 2017 festival.
We are going to bring you an amazing dance sessions in different categories. Of course, we are going to bring you the ballroom soiree. We are also going to have the street dance congress made up of throwback jam. We are going to have the Afro-Latin Congress made up of salsa, kizomba, bachata, and nights of social dances and performances.
A former Deputy Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Jifa Gomashi, challenged dancers to be innovative, explaining that is a necessity to attract patronage.
We can do a little bit more than we are doing. We can create our own environment and have other people buy into it.
Get ready as another episode of the Dance Festival opens.
And to end the news, a quick recap of our top stories. The Ministry of Education has extended the placement of this year's computerized school selection and placement system to next week. The paramount queens of the Nkonya and Alavanyo traditional areas have appealed to the youth to eschew vengeance and also asked security agencies to punish those who engaged in killings. On business, government has cancelled the Exton Cubic deal in bauxite, and traders who sell close to the village, Cocoa Village in Tema, have vowed to resist the TMA from evicting them. That's how we're wrapping up the show for tonight. There's more news on 3news.com. My name is Bright Nananfo. Stay with us. There is more coming up.